Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you the full main Easter egg and some very helpful side Easter egg quests in the brand new custom zombies map for Black Ops 3 called Vae Victis, which is basically an outbreak zombies map. Here in the beginning of the video, I'm going to throw up a quick overview of the map and the layout, so if you guys need to refer to this map, you guys can. It has kind of the locations named that if you ever need to use it. So I think that's a pretty useful resource. So if you want to skip to specific parts of the video, it will be timestamped in the description down below, as well as possibly in the pinned comment. But first, let's hop into these very helpful side quests to help you guys get started before we hop into the main quest. So first up is the Points Orb. If you play Cold War Outbreak, you'd be familiar with this orb. It's just a random glowing orb you can find anywhere on the map on pretty much every wave. If you go up to it and shoot it, it will then drop a whole bunch of points and fly off in a specific direction. And it will leave a trail behind it of the direction it went, so if you quickly collect all the points and follow the trail, you can follow the orb to the next location and repeat the process of shooting it and getting more points until the third time you finally do it, the orb will disappear, and you'll have to wait till the next wave to find the orb again. Now, to get a free perk, I ran into this little Easter egg over here by sort of the dragon area of the map, where you can see the die-rise dragon to the left and the lighthouse sort of to the right. I'm not sure if this location will always be the same or if it'll change depending on the match you're in, but I found Buffy the Vampire Slayer here, or Sarah Michelle Gellar from Call of the Dead, slumped over dead at this rock. And if you walk up to her and press investigate, a few seconds later a random boss will spawn in, so I believe a Panzer spawned in for me, and it had sort of an objective indicator above it, and once I killed it, it dropped a free perk drop, and it gave me a free random perk, so that is very helpful, because it can take a while to get set up, and it's pretty helpful early on. This next side quest is extremely useful as it will give you a bunch of keys. I believe you need to complete at least one objective, and you might need to even be at least on wave 2, but to check for this, you just simply go to the back of the church area, the buried church, and on this little box in the back, you'll find a pink piece of chalk. There's no prompt for it, but if you hold interact on it, you can pick it up. Then if you go to the front of the church, you can write with the chalk on the sign, and you'll see a bunch of letters start spinning around and then fly off into the distance. So if you make your way to the lighthouse area, you can see these letters floating in the air. Now you need to pick them up in a specific order, and it's not every letter, and they change randomly, it seems. So you need to pick them up to spell out the word Eddie, so E-D-D-Y. So look around the lighthouse area for these letters floating in the air, and nearby each of these letters you will find a little area that's glowing that will boost you up into the air if you stand on it. So you can let it boost you in the air and then deploy your parachute to collect each of these letters one at a time. And for me in my game, the last letter appeared on a zip line, so just keep your eyes peeled for all around the lighthouse area. Once you collected all 4 of these letters to spell out Eddie, you can then return back to the buried church area and interact with that sign once again, and 7 keys will pop out as a reward. And this is very useful because you will need at least 1 key for the main Easter egg, and you will need some other keys for some other side quests. And if you just want to interact with some of the weapon lockers to get a free legendary random weapon. So getting into the weapon side quests, the first one we have up is the Scavenger from Call of the Dead. So what you basically need to do is find 3 different numbers coordinated to a color around the lighthouse. The first one is on this tree kind of off to the side of the lighthouse, and in the footage in the background I'll try to kind of show you where I am in each of these cases. But you can see the number is red, so this one on the tree is red, so just remember that. And then head over around the side of the lighthouse to find a cave, and go inside that cave and you should find another number on the cave wall, and this one will be blue. If you then head over to the back side of the lighthouse and head over to this back ledge, you can find the color green and a number on a rock at this back side of the lighthouse. With these 3 numbers and their coordinating colors, you can then go into the lighthouse, and on each floor is a dial with a color. So you then need to just turn these dials to each of those designated numbers you found. Once you've successfully done it, it'll pop up saying Scavenger Quest Complete, and then you can go downstairs to the bunker area of the lighthouse, and you can find a scavenger inside of the bunker, but unfortunately you need a key to access this. Next up, we have the jet gun. So to get the jet gun, you just want to head over to the town area of the map, and look for the bowling alley area next to this box spawn. You're going to need to use a key to get into this bowling alley, and then you're going to want to walk up to each of the lanes of the bowling alley and throw a grenade directly at the pins in the middle of them, and then an orb will appear and shoot out into the town. So go back to the center of the town area, and the orb will be circling there floating. Simply shoot it enough, and you will see it fly to a nearby mystery box. If you go over to this mystery box and then spin it, it will give you the jet gun. And I have to say, the jet gun's pretty decent on this map. It doesn't break, and it simply goes into a cooldown if you overheat it. Also, it can be pack-a-punched, which is pretty awesome. Now for the last side quest I'm showing in this video and Wonder Weapon quest, that is going to be for the Sliquifier. So if you head over to Area 51, which is the moon teleporter area, and it has a pack-a-punch machine there, if you head over to the right of there and keep going back, you'll find a building right just behind it. Go inside there, go upstairs, and you will find a door that requires a key. So if you open up this room and check inside there, you should be able to find a piece of the Sliquifier inside there. Now, if you make your way back over to the town area, just outside the town, you can find the Die-Rise Dragon. And if you go up the stairs to the top area of the dragon, you should be able to jump off and grab a bottle that's floating up in the air. Now that you have both of those parts, if you go to a jump jet around the map, specifically I had one over here near the buried church, and if you interact with the fluid right at the bottom, you can collect the fluid and it will spawn in the Sliquifier fully built. It will then shoot off in the sky, and I think it spawns through every game, but it should be in the Nuketown area, in the cul-de-sac area, just near kind of this dead forest off to the corner of the map, and it will also have a bright yellow beam shining in the sky to let you know that it's there. The Sliquifier can also be pack-a-punched, which is nice as well. So, getting into the main Easter egg quest now. The first step is to simply reach round 3, wave 3 of the outbreak objectives. Once you're on wave 3, you can then finish that objective for that round, but don't travel to the next wave yet, stay on wave 3. After some dialogue, you will see the lighthouse light then turn green and begin pointing to the diner. So you will then have to make your way to the diner area, and inside there you'll find a glowing object you can pick up. There will be some more dialogue for a while, and then the lighthouse will then turn and point to Nuketown. So then if you make your way all the way across the map to Nuketown, and the back right of Nuketown, you should be able to find a shed, and inside that shed is the other artifact you'll want to collect. Once you have both of these artifacts, there's going to be some more dialogue, and then you can travel to the next round. Once you're on the next round, there's going to be some dialogue mentioning that you need to shoot down the meteorite. So you'll need to go to the Area 51/moon base, and if you head to the right of there, in sort of the back right corner area, you're going to find a giant railgun. So interact with it, you will need all players nearby, and it will shoot down the meteorite. And that is essentially going to drop down the MPD from Moon into the center of the town area. So then head over to the town area, and nearby, just outside of the town, you're going to find a bus with Ted inside of it. So if you walk into this bus, you can then interact with Ted, there will be some dialogue, and then you'll be able to collect his head. If you then go to the center of the town, you can place his head there, and it will begin a scan. During this scan, all players will have to be nearby to activate it, and you'll be locked down in the center of the town area, and you have to hold out and survive for just a couple minutes. After you complete that, there'll be some dialogue, and then you're able to travel to the next location. So you should be on about wave 5 about now. And now you can go to the forest near Nuketown, just behind it, sort of near where you could pick up the Sliquifier. And in the back there, near the dead trees and forest, you're going to find these trees that have faces on them. There's going to be 4 of them or so, and you need to kill zombies in front of these trees to collect their souls. So just collect a few souls at each of the trees, and if you hit the correct tree, or maybe if you just do them all, you're going to see a piece of a spear shoot out of one of them and spawn in the middle of that area, which you can then pick up, and you're done with this step. You're then going to want to go over to the wooden bridge from transit over by the diner and look for the purple aether crystal in the roof. If you shoot it, it will then fall, but when it's falling, you have to quickly interact to pick it up. I was actually unable to pick it up at all when using a controller, but when I switched over to keyboard, I was able to pick it up easily my first try each time. And that will give you the other piece of the spear. So once you have these two pieces of the spear, then go to the green swamp area just below the lighthouse. And if you go into the water, you should be able to interact to assemble the spear. You will then have to kill zombies near the spear to fill it up with souls. And when it's finally done being filled up with souls, you will be able to pick it up. But as a heads up, it does take up a weapon slot. So just be careful of that. So once you have the spear, you can then go to the bottom of the lighthouse, and inside there's going to be a generator on the ground, and you're going to want to throw your spear directly into the kind of the center of the circle thing. It may take a few tries to get the angle just right, but if you get it correctly, there will be a signifying noise, and you'll be able to interact with that spear to ascend. Once you ascend, you're going to be in this new location, and when you're inside this room, you go to the right side to place Artemis on one of the panels. After a few seconds, you should be able to pick up the head, go to the opposite side of the room, and place the head there as well for another few seconds. Once able, pick up the head once again, and a cutscene will then ensue. Once the cutscene's over, you can then just follow the objective to place the Artemis head, and some dialogue will go about. Once you're able to, on the left side of the room, you can interact with some computers to play Simon Says from Moon, which essentially you just mimic the computers and interact with each of the colors when doing so. I don't think any zombies are spawning during this step, so feel free to take your time with it. Once you complete that, you can then go back to Artemis and interact to merge the data, and then it's going to spawn a wave of zombies that you'll just have to survive against. Once you've completed that, there'll be some dialogue, of course, then you're going to find some valves hissing around the area you're at. Once you start interacting with the valves, it's going to be on a timer, but you basically have to interact with each of these valves and keep turning them until a light turns green on the valve. So I do recommend getting familiar with all the locations of the valves that you need to hit before starting this. But basically, I hit some of the ones in the back room, and then there was some in the front area along the walls. So I just turned all those green, and the step completed. You can then go to Artemis once again and interact, and it will then spawn on yet another wave of zombies you have to hold out against. Once that's completed and there's more dialogue, if you then go to the right side of the room, you're going to find an electrified pipe, and you should actually have a Tempest zipping around, shooting lightning at you. You will need this, so you might want to keep the Tempest around, but if you do kill it, I believe it does respawn. So there's going to be these wheels along the wall on the right side, and you can interact with them until the electricity transfers onto the next pipe. So keep following the pipe and turning each of the dials until the electricity keeps going along. And whenever the wheel is shocking a blue orb, you're going to want to get the Tempest to shoot towards you to actually hit the pipe and shock it. And this will allow you to easily finish it and connect it all, and then you'll be able to go back to Artemis and interact once again. After some dialogue and a series of events, you're then just going to have to escape that area and just run to the objective. Once you run to the objective, you'll be teleported out, and at this point, the game will now allow you to choose to continue to just play the normal map if you want to gather more points and get more prepared, or you can continue on to the final fight. So you can make your choice in the bus, and once you're ready to continue on with the main quest, and you have chosen that, you can then head over to the next objective. After some interactions in the bus depot, you will then have Artemis as a companion. You'll then be told you need to find 3 nav cards around the map. So the first one is actually in the bus depot right there. You need to unlock the door that's on the right side of the bus depot that requires a key. And as soon as you walk down in there, the nav card's going to be on the wall right above the stairs. So you will need to kind of run and jump to be able to grab it in the midair. For the second nav card, you need to head to the buried church area. And just outside of the church in the graveyard nearby, you'll be able to see the nav card sticking out of a grave that you can then pick up. The third and final nav card is going to be towards the Die Rise Dragon sign, and if you climb up the stairs in front of the dragon to go up towards its mouth area, you'll be able to see a nav card floating in its mouth, and you can pick it up. After a bunch more talking, you can then head over to the next objective, which is the final boss. This boss could be decently difficult, so I recommend getting prepared with Gersh devices, monkey bombs, and whatever abilities and upgrades you might want or need. So the first stage of the boss is essentially you want to dodge the boss's attacks and survive against hordes of zombies. After a while, a door on the left side of the room will finally open up, and inside there is 4 skulls. You need to pick up each of these skulls one at a time and throw them at yellow spheres that could be used somewhere randomly in the boss arena. All possible spawns of these spheres are actually behind the left of the boss, behind the right of the boss, beneath the left staircase to get to the lower level, and above the door inside of the skull room. So once you successfully throw all 4 of these skulls at each 4 of these yellow spheres that only one spawn at a time, the boss will then be exposed and you can lay into him in the front face area to finish off this first stage. You will then have to survive yet another wave of zombies, more boss attacks and new attacks, and he can even laser straight across the top floor or electrify the bottom ground, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And take cover if he ever uses his laser eyes. Eventually, the right side of the room will open up and you can go inside there and interact with a panel. A mangler will then spawn inside there, and then you're going to have to kill this mangler mini-boss and it will drop its arm cannon. So then pick it up and head back into the boss arena area, and you can place it on the right side and will then shoot this other generator behind him, and it will cause the boss to become vulnerable, so you can hop into the middle and shoot into his face once again to finish off this second phase. For the third phase, you're going to have to survive for a while once again against the boss's attacks and waves of zombies, and then finally the middle door on the back side of the room will open up, and you can run in there and kill 2 boss zombies which have spawned in there. After you kill both of those boss zombies, I recommend just taking cover in this room out of sight of the main room, because the boss is going to start freaking out and spraying lasers everywhere, and eventually he'll accidentally kill himself from lasering all over the place. Once he's defeated, there will be some dialogue going on. Essentially, it's revealing that the main boss was the Shadow Man / Dr. Monty, and he was about to take a portal to escape back to the normal world. And our Victis crew here is making the choice to sacrifice themselves and destroy the portal, their one escape back to the real normal world, to stop the Shadow Man / Dr. Monty and destroy him, but seal their fate of being doomed to die in the dark aether. So the characters give some nice backstory lines and goodbyes to each other, of course after you interact with the main kind of console in the middle of the room, and then once it's all said and done, you can then start shooting away at this big glowing portal in the middle. Once you've successfully shot it enough and done enough damage, you will then enter the final cutscene. But with that said, you successfully completed the main Easter egg, and the game will then end immediately after the cutscene. But with all that said, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you guys found this guide useful with all the side quests and main quests. Be sure to subscribe for more custom zombies content, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.
And so it was. The champions of humanity gave up the very last thing they owned to save us all: their lives. As the depths of the dark ether swallowed them whole, taking a great force of malice and death along with them, their faces did not show regret or remorse. Rather, they told of an unfettered determination, the likes of which is only seen in humankind. An inability to give up, roll over, and let evil win, no matter the odds they seem to face. Against all of our calculations, they managed to keep the false parasite King Agamemnon from regaining a foothold in this realm, even after how powerful he had become. While the future of the dark ether from here forward is uncertain, there is one thing we have learned for sure. In a world of demons and gods, the greatest unknown factor is humanity, and their capacity for both good and evil.